My God. I started this video 10 minutes ago, pressed play, realized I was in slow motion the whole time. So I wanted to talk before bed because I had just these thoughts racing in my head due to overthinking and anxiety. But I wanted to talk about anxiety. And all of the ways that anxiety has not only impacted like my life, but just common things of anxiety that I think that a lot of people can relate to. My anxiety plays a role every single hour of every single day of every single one of my decisions, for real. And you could argue that a lot of our decisions are made out of fear. I mean, like, you couldn't even just argue that. We all know that. I find that, not to say that my anxiety is special, I just have been feeling incredibly anxious lately. I don't know what the heck is going on. I feel like my life is going good, but my thoughts have been plaguing me a little more than usual. And when I was in therapy, guilty, that was a joke made by Rick Glassman. That was not my joke. When I was in therapy and my therapist asked me about like coping mechanisms for anxiety, she was like, would you be interested in going on medication? I was like, no, not medication. Like, this was like the 60s or something. And like, as if I was in therapy and like I didn't just believe in medication and like I was just, why would I be on medication, bro? Like, I'm doing fine. You see me. Like, I strongly believe if you need aid anywhere you can get it, get the aid that you need. A lot of people need medication. I feel like or I felt like at the time I didn't need to be on medication because I have very manageable anxiety. And I feel like the only way to talk myself out of my anxiety, the way that I cope with my anxiety is through going to therapy every week, which probably, I think I'm going to change going to therapy every week to bi-weekly, because sometimes I just be sitting there talking to my therapist and I'm like, yeah, so that relationship with that one friend is like weird. And she'll be like, I can see her getting visibly bored with me, which then also makes me anxious. Then I'm like, now I want another therapist to talk about the fact that I feel like my current therapist is bored of the fact that the things I bring up are not that entertaining and not that spicy. And so now and then I'm like, should I like go back to talking about substance abuse or I did not really do that good of a job of explaining where my anxiety stems from, so I'm just going to do it kind of quickly right now. It's the next day after I filmed that video. But basically, I feel like my anxiety stems from mainly my insecurity of wanting to be perceived as like a strong, competent, intelligent person, but not really feeling like that for elementary school, middle school, high school. And because as a creative person who's not good at math or anything STEM related, for the most part, I feel like for a lot of my life, I kind of went through life being like, well, I'm just not that intelligent. And then in college, like having the confidence to be like, I am intelligent. I just have very specific skills and I'm a great communicator and I'm a great artistic, creative person. Having that confidence kind of later in life has plagued. I feel like I operate automatically out of a place of like lack, and I get anxious about the way that people perceive me because the way that I've perceived myself for a long time was somebody who lacked a lot of skill. So I think that people think that about me, even though I'm the only one thinking that about me, you know? And then also moving around a lot, like, you operate out of this place of being like, I have to prove myself, I have to make people like me, and I don't have to do that anymore. But I do that all the time in my head, thinking about, do people think that I'm competent? Do people like me? Do people want to be around me for a long time? But yeah, that's where my anxiety for the most part stems from. Also being somebody who's 5 foot, I don't want people to think of me of that like annoying short girl that we all know exists. And then also being a Black woman, like being a minority in a majority space is very... But anyways, yeah, that's where my anxiety stems from. I feel like my anxiety is very manageable. And I felt like at the time when I was diagnosed and when I was talking to my therapist about like how to treat certain things, I just kind of felt like majority of my anxiety stems from things that are not things that don't like cripple me. Like, I don't have anxiety about going to the store. I don't have anxiety about getting out of my house. I don't have anxiety about doing things that I need to do that I can't do. I have anxiety about, I was gonna say dumb things, like the dumbest things, but they're not dumb at the end of the day. At the start of the day and at the end of the day, they're not dumb. But like, they don't feel big enough for me to be on medication because I don't want to alter my brain chemistry. For me just being anxious that I'm going for me being anxious about like what time to use the bathroom when I'm in the office. Like, I'll be anxious about, oh my god, should I not take my lunch break right now because it's like a weird time for me to get up and then people will be like looking at me. I worry about things that I could talk myself out of for the most part semi easily. But the thing is that the frequency of my thoughts, of my anxious thoughts, are coming just a little bit more frequent. Like, frequently. My frequent thoughts are just increasing in frequency. I'll be at work and have next to nothing to do. And of course, what am I going to do? Fill the time with anxiety. Because she's a dear friend. She's a dear friend and a reoccurring character in my life. And like, sometimes when I'm sitting and I don't have anything to do, I'll be sitting and thinking like, you don't have anything to do. Like, think about that one thing that you did 45 days ago. Did you do that completely? If you don't have anything to do, like, people are going to notice, and then people are going to bring it up to your boss, and then you're going to be fired. And that's also just the pressure of corporate America constantly making you feel like you need to be doing something, making yourself useful. There's some points in my life where I'm like, this is not enjoyable at all, to like think these thoughts, to where I'm like convincing myself that I could be fired because I've done a decent job and been efficient enough to get the things I need to get done in my day. The things that I come home and tell my husband are so annoying. Dude, I feel so bad for my husband because most of the things that I talk about after work are just like things that are not events. They are thoughts and ideas in my mind about fears that I have. Maybe medication is not that bad of an idea. But the thing is that I'm still in this phase where I just kind of feel like, is my anxiety bad enough for me to like want to be on medication? And I could go on like an extreme low dose of like Lexapro or something, but like, I also don't want to rely on medication. You know what I mean? Like, I am in my holistic manifesting I know it's like annoying to hear that. I don't want to be on medication. I take holistic practices. I know that's so annoying to hear because it's like, you don't believe in medicine? Come on. I believe in medicine. I'm pro medication. But in terms of coping with my anxiety, managing my anxiety, I don't really want to become dependent on something. If it is something that I can manage like on my own through changing my thought patterns, through exercising, through therapy, through whatever the heck. I also think that it's important. Also, the purpose of this video like isn't supposed to be me just complaining the whole time. Like, I know it's annoying to hear somebody with anxiety just talk about their anxiety all the time, and you're like, oh my god, like, you're such a victim. You like, what are you gonna do with this? How are you gonna take this kind of negative thing or this like aspect of your life that isn't that desirable and turn it into something of value? Because I strongly believe in that. This channel kind of is based in taking like casual or monumental moments, whether they be good or bad, and turning them into something of value, which are these videos. But basically, I think that this is gonna sound so silly, but like, truly, it's something that I kind of believe. I have managed to cope with my anxiety by, sometimes when I get anxious, identifying what's making me anxious and going down to the root, or as some people say, I think it's Southern people that say the root, which is like, by going to the root of the issue and then kind of talking myself out of it. Like, I was listening to Leo Skepi's podcast, and he talked about how he was having trouble quitting smoking. And one thing that he did in relation to like how he was getting out of the thought process of wanting a cigarette was just to think about Kourtney Kardashian saying, "People are dying, Kim. People are dying." You want a cigarette? Oh, people are dying. So a little bit of me kind of combats my anxiety with the idea of like, oh, you're anxious about getting up to go take a lunch break and how that'll affect the office's dynamic about who can go take a lunch break after you. That's so stupid. It's not even worth the thought. Like, you're out here worrying about other people when other people haven't thought about you twice today. People are dying and you're thinking about this. The best way to treat anxiety. Whoop! I meant that's the best way that I treat my anxiety. That's not for everybody. Okay, this is not recommended advice. This is for me. Is really just to identify it and then think about how ridiculous you are thinking about things that are like not in your reality. Like, focus on like what's actually in front of you as opposed to the things that like could potentially be in front of you. Like, that's a lot of my anxiety is like, oh, they could, or they maybe do think I'm stupid, or they could think I'm stupid, or I could be wasting time, or I am wasting time, or I could be doing this one thing and I'm not doing this one thing. Like, a lot of it's just based in I'm worried about other people perceiving me a certain way, but it's like, dude, that's in your mind. So if you're worried about people perceiving you one way, imagine that they're perceiving you the opposite way, and then like problem solved. You know, like, the only way I'm taking back my power and turning it into something of value is to, one, make videos like this where I just kind of talk candidly so I can get it all out. Once you get a problem out into the world and you talk about it thoroughly, it kind of feels like, oh, addressed it, talked about it, now it doesn't have that like power over me. And then also kind of minimizing it and acting like it doesn't affect you even though it does really does a little bit heal a part of your brain that needs to be healed. I don't recommend it. Please don't ignore issues that need to be addressed. But what works for me is the like fake it till you make it mentality of like, you're not anxious, you're confident. You're not overthinking. You had one thought and then it's gone. Being so delusional that you live in a new reality that eventually will become your reality. Yeah, I think that the best way to combat anxiety is just acting like it doesn't exist. Do I stand by that? We'll see in like a couple years. But for now, it's just how I feel.